Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of SOTI TV, your deep dive into innovation, technology, and trends. I'm your host, Mario, joined by my co-host, Matt. Who let you in here?
Actually, the team did. I'm supposed to be here.
Matt, glad to have you on board. Thanks for joining me on this episode.
Thank you.
We're going to be going through a couple of things today, but before we go into them, I want to introduce you to a good friend of mine, somebody who I've worked with on many different projects, somebody who spent time training me when he worked here. Please help me welcome Wesley Pereyra, Senior Sales Engineer for Alliances. Wesley, thank you so much for coming on board. Why don't you give our audience a little bit of an understanding? Who are you? Where are you from? What have you been doing? What's got you interested and where are you going today?
Well, I actually started my career here at SOTI as a level 1 support technician. So this was quite a while ago in 2013 when I started my first job in support. And it was challenging, but I had a great team around me and I was able to work myself up to a level 2. And then from there, I joined the sales team as a sales engineer. And I spent 3 years working on some of our largest projects with some of our largest OEMs before moving to Zebra to support our ISV and IHV communities, which is our independent software vendors and hardware vendors. And I work as a sales engineer mainly on partner integration, but a little bit more on the customer focus side of that
Got
business.
it, okay. Yeah, so more customer focused, really trying to kind of drive into the value added community that you guys have built up.
Absolutely.
And again, appreciate all the work and even the times that you and I spent together. So to our audience, I've learned a lot from Wesley over the course of the years, and I'm really happy to have him on board because now it's a little bit different. Instead of me learning from him, we're going to be interviewing him and going through a whole bunch of things. So before we start that, what I like to do is I like to get the blood flowing a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and play a little bit of a game that I like to call Rapid Fire Round. Okay. So, rules are simple. It's a this or that game where I'm going to give you a bunch of questions with only 2 possible answers, and you're to pick one or the other. So, because you're the guest, Wes, we're going to start with you, then Matt, and then we'll finish with myself. You guys ready?
Ready?
Ready to go.
Okay, beautiful. So, first question. Barcode scanning or RFID?
RFID.
Oh, barcode scanning.
RFID, it's the new wave.
Okay.
How old are you?
Old.
So, battery swap or full device hot swap?
Battery swap.
I agree. Battery swap.
Battery swap as well. Stage now enrollment or zero touch enrollment?
Stage now.
Stage now.
Stage now. Now the last one's a fun one. Golf or hockey?
Hockey.
Golf.
Go Leafs.
Golf. I'm going to stick with golf. So there you go, guys. A little bit of a fun game just to kind of start it off a bit. So first things first, let's get a rundown going here. We're going to walk you guys through the episode, let you know exactly what we're going to be talking about. So first to start off with is we're going to be looking at, what's new, what's hot, what's coming off the press. Wes, you're going to take us through that. What's going on in the world of scanning, right? We've looked at scanning. Traditionally, a lot of people have been focused on barcodes. Now we're seeing RFID really starting to kick into the market across many different verticals, and I want to go through that with you. Look a little bit of the competitive landscape. What key things at Zebra really differentiate themselves as an industry powerhouse versus some of the other things that we see today? As well as, what is our overall impacts across a couple of industries? And the couple ones that I really want to focus on are airline and T&L companies. Then the power of what we do together as organization around integrations, and then a little bit of fun of what does the future look like? What is hot off the press, but what do you guys see in the near distant future? So Wes, looking at the latest and greatest from Zebra, we got a lot of cool things coming out over the course of the year, a lot of different models and makes and things that are really changing the industry. Why don't you walk us through a couple of those, and Matt, while we're going through them, have a look and even bring up some of your industry knowledge and see where you see these really best fitting in. Wes, talk to me.
So the TC53, the industry-leading device with the industry-leading scanner. This year we're putting RFID into that device. And not just any RFID, we are putting near-field RFID onto our top-line model. Beyond that, we're also integrating the RFID toolkit into Data Wedge to make it accessible for our customers.
So for our viewers, what is near field RFID?
Yeah, it's a great question. So RFID in general, we've used for locating assets that are further away. Now we can take that RFID identification and use it almost like a barcode and tap against the device.
Oh.
So like think of NFC, but more flexible.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That does sound cool.
Okay. And we talked a little bit, looking into the future and some of the really cool form factors. I see that you guys are looking at the WS 101. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So this is actually a very exciting device. So this is a Zebra first. So we're launching a companion device for retail, warehouse, and healthcare. And if you take a closer look at the device, basically it is going to allow you to extend voice capabilities directly to the user. So they won't have to interact with the device. All they have to do is tell the device, hey Zebra, can you please tell me what I'm picking next? Or can you please tell me which healthcare patient I have to take care of next? So these are small things that we're doing to kind of enable our end users to be able to do their jobs with a little bit less friction.
So what would be like a cool use case? So you mentioned nurses. How would that be used in a hospital?
So if we take a look at the healthcare device, it has a red duress button. And one of the hottest topics right now in healthcare is how do you alert, dispatch, or get help in case a patient is either in a situation where they need help, or what about a situation where you need help as a nurse? Mm-hmm. You don't want to open up your phone, find the application, trigger it, and then have to say, okay, this is a distressful situation. You want to be able to do that in your pocket.
Just hit the button.
Yeah, just hit the button.
I think it's important because you see it in industry nonstop today where if you've been to a hospital in a bit, in recent, they have a little button on the wall and you have to be able to reach that button. Sometimes you don't have that capability. Sometimes you're walking out in the hall, right? So having the ability to grab it from a lapel perspective, press down on it, and then get the instantaneous help you need, I think that's huge. And I think that's actually going to really change a lot of safety for a lot of different reasons, right? Whether it be in healthcare or even, let's say, for example, like field services, right?
That's ease of use.
It is ease of use.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of users are looking for today in devices is changing that idea that, it's always got to be in my physical hand. I have to be scanning things. I need to be touching it. It's got to be typed on to now almost frictionlessly completing job functions, right?
And don't forget, you can do it in your pocket. You don't even have to alert the patient that you are calling for help. You can help de-escalate a situation.
Yeah, de-escalate a situation without ever having to let somebody know that it is escalating, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Looking at some of the form factors, even hospitals today, talk to us a little about Workstation Connect, right? I've seen a whole bunch of demos about it. I see it's really taking that device that's in your hand and making it more accessible. Talk to me.
So Workstation Connect is basically functionality on the device that allows you to use a secondary screen. Mm-hmm. And if you want to know what's the use case, or why do we need this? Almost every hospital, almost every retail store, they have to have a mobility device, and then they have to have a POS system that don't necessarily talk to each other. So when you're trying to help a customer in retail, mm-hmm. you might have to find an asset or find something that they're looking for. Once they find it, you have to start that whole process over again on the POS system to cash that customer out. This way you can basically start that interaction with the customer and go directly to your sale frictionless.
Oh, that sounds way easier. So you don't have to use two different systems, whether it's a mobile device or a laptop. Your mobile device just plugs in and it's the same device.
Yeah, one device to manage.
That's really cool because now what you do is, let's say you're helping a guest in an aisle, right? They're like, hey, listen, I'm looking for this product. Okay, let me go look up. You look it up on my inventory list. Okay, it's in this. Let me take you over. They scan it. They get a copy of it, and it's like, hey, did you want to check out? Yeah, I got everything that I need. Hold on a second. Scan, 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 and now you just plop it in, and it's just cash, credit card.
And that's just the retail side of it. So also in healthcare, mm-hmm. we can take that nurse's device and let them use a secondary screen to put in patient information. And not only that, we can use that device itself for ambient listening, for example. So a secondary application can be running on the device while the nurse is looking up patient information, for example.
So it actually kind of streamlines those computer on wheels that a lot of nurses and doctors have to push around the hospital. Yes. Now it's just one little mobile device and plug it in and dock it.
Absolutely, streamlines. It extends the battery of those devices. They already have built-in scanners, so you don't have to have another accessory on the cart. It just basically takes the whole solution and simplifies it almost by 3 times.
So speaking of healthcare. And I think that was huge because that kind of transitions to devices that do support that exact same model. So talk to us a little bit about the HC, right? So we've got the HD55. What's different about that? Why is that valuable? How does that kind of play into that whole ecosystem we were just talking about?
Yeah, so for the first time, we have designed a device specifically for healthcare with the feedback from nurses. So this device is smaller than our TC line. It's lighter than a TC line. It has a larger screen. It has disinfectant-proof materials. And one of the biggest feature is a dedicated address button that's on the back of the device. So it's a red button that can be programmed to do basically whatever you want, but we are working with third-party manufacturers or third-party vendors to build software that allows you to connect directly to emergency services when you need it.
Interesting. So we're talking just like seamless integration where if I press that button, somebody's getting alerted, right? Kind of similar to how we saw in the WS101 as an example.
Yes.
So Wes, is this device that you've brought?
I bought a TC5 that was the first device to have a address button. So this device was basically built off our standard platform and then kind of modified to be the nurse's best friend. But since then, for our newer generation devices, we have basically started from scratch to design the right device for them.
So any of the Zebra partners, any of the SOTI partners, anyone that wants to integrate into that distress button can now do so.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's amazing.
That's a huge change in the market because what I'm seeing right now is that you guys are doubling down on creating an ecosystem to work amongst many different use cases, but built into a single vertical, whether you have it on your lapel, whether you have the device in your hand to a workstation. Now you're a lot more mobile free or you're desktop bound, and you can choose what form factor you want to play with, and also giving a level of security as well as cleanliness, right, is what I see in healthcare. What I wanted to kind of switch back into is we talked about RFID, right? And that's, your radio frequency identification. And in my personal opinion, I'm seeing this really starting to build up. And there's a couple of reasons why, right? Number one is I'm seeing there's a dramatic, not a dramatic, but at least a cost drop in the cost of the tags themselves. They're becoming easier to manufacture. We're able to put them in a lot of different products. We're seeing them utilized a lot in retail today, right, to protect merchandise and anti-theft. And also I'm seeing a cool, unique thing around machine vision and RFID. Wes, why don't you walk me through a little bit of that retail experience and where you see those things?
Yeah, so retail has really doubled down on the use of RFID. Before, at a high level, it was used for asset tracking. And that was kind of the use case, and they would track high value items. But as the cost of the tags have dropped, we've seen changes in workflow. So now you can tag more of your assets, and you can see the flow of it from the back of store to front of store. And even beyond that, you can start tracking loss prevention or devices that might leave the store. And through tools that we have in machine vision, you can identify who has multiple assets or toys or whatever it may be that you're buying in their pocket or something like that. It also brings added value to the dressing room experience because a retailer would know exactly what you picked up and took to the dressing room, and then they can say this user or this customer has like a shirt and a tie or whatever it is.
Sure.
And then it's the wrong size shirt, but inside every single change room, there's a kiosk, a Zebra kiosk that allows them to pick a different size, and then the retail worker can bring it to them.
That's cool. I never thought of it in that aspect.
This really helped propel forward, especially during COVID, where managing inventory levels and stock levels between locations, between distribution centers, even all the way back as far as the manufacturing when you're producing that good, that t-shirt, whatever it is, knowing and managing those levels for, especially when people buy online but pick up in store, which stores have which inventory, it actually gives you live data. It's actually pretty powerful to be able to see where things are, whether they're being manufactured, whether they're in the store, or they're still being shipped, and knowing kind of real time where all the inventory is and all the assets are.
I like how you bring that up because what I'm seeing a lot of market today is that there was previously a struggle, right? And when we looked at 2015 to about 2018, whenever you would see something online versus what they said was in store, that number was never the same.
Never,
ever. I would go to, let's say, a hardware store, and I was renovating my place, and I went to go pick up 2 toilets. They said they had 5 in stock. When I went there was 1, and I'm like, but why? Like, how? You guys are telling me that the asset is on the floor. Now the introduction of RFID is really going to change that, because not only are we going to be able to know where the asset is, and we can use fixed readers in the ceiling to do that. We can use, for example, even some of the sled guns from Zebra where we can scan 1,200, 1,700 items in a second.
Yeah.
That changes how we do inventory. Because I'm thinking of it from a hardware perspective. If I want to know what everything is in a shelf, I literally take that gun and I just swipe down and it tells me what needs to be replenished, what's been taken off the shelf, and we can send that data directly to any of the warehouse management systems, your ERPs, those things, those pieces of software that are linking inventory together.
Yeah, and let me just say, losing a toilet is wild, but it allows you to complete your planograms really quickly, and it allows you to see what your assets are, back of store versus front of store. And I wanted to touch a little bit on manufacturing as well, because in manufacturing, we're seeing the adoption of RFID not to track assets, but to track the workflow as something is being produced. So you can see if something is taking too long in the painting area or the assembling area. And you can also tell if something has been misplaced and put into the wrong line. So just with the adoption of RFID, with RFID appearing in all of our devices, we're seeing the use cases explode outside of retail.
Quality goes up, knowledge goes up.
Customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction. I think it's kind of a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to really bring up RFID on this episode, is because I really do see a double down and a triple down in that industry. And I really see that, barcode's got its positions, and I'm never going to take away from the idea that barcoding will always be there. But as the costs start to drop, I really see RFID dramatically changing the barcode experience. Now, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's also, we don't think we want to replace the barcode, right?
Okay.
We are building devices that have both sides of that functionality. So if you look at our premium sleds like the RFD 40 and the RFD 90, they do come with barcode scanners as well. So we're not forcing an adoption to a certain tag. We just want to enable it by adding it to more of our portfolio.
So, opinionated
Give people
question.
more options.
More options, exactly.
Yeah.
More options.
Do you just an opinionated question? Let's look. Let's say not maybe 10 years. Maybe let's say 10 years as an example. Do you foresee, just an opinionated, do you see us transitioning more towards RFID just based off of how the technology is progressing? Or do you see it just still, in 10 years, both of them still being available, or one conquering the other?
I don't think it's going to be like a takeover of RFID. I really think, the barcode's so established, right? It's not going to go away anytime soon, but it's going to be the adoption of using them in conjunction that's going to change. So depending on the workflow, you're still going to see a barcode at your checkout station if you're at the grocery store, but you don't have that expectation that that end user is going to have to scan every item when they're doing inventory.
Okay, I see your point. Matt, anything that you wanted to add or you thought about?
No, I think these are kind of great examples, right? Like the more knowledge you have on what's happening in your business, I think it's a win for customers. And I kind of actually agree with Wes that ultimately, I think there's great use cases for both. And let the customers decide how they want to use the technologies. And they're the ultimate decision makers on how they deliver their products to their customers. This is the technology that enables them to do that. And they've kind of got all the options in front of them.
Great. I appreciate you guys giving some insights, because again, I'm looking at it from a perspective of what does it look like long term. And what I really wanted to ask is what really key differentiates or makes Zebra the best in breed in your opinion versus some of the other ones out there today?
Yeah, well, first of all, this is all we do, right? We only make enterprise devices. We've been making them for a long time. I'm sure everyone's very familiar with these devices. So this is our core business, right? We're not chasing consumers. And if you want to talk about, some of the competition that we're seeing in the field and, some of the lower cost devices that might be creeping into the market, they don't have the robust infrastructure or they don't have access to a partner ecosystem like we do. They don't have tried and tested devices that have been in retail for like 15 years, maybe not 50 years, but we've had printers in the industry for 50 years, right? We're a 50-year-old company. But one of the key features that we've been developing for the last, 15 years, 12, 15 years, has been mobility DNA, right? It started with kind of our acquisition of Motorola Enterprise and kind of the base level that they built with their toolkit.
Right.
And then we were the first at the table when it came to developing the Android version of that toolkit. So we have tools that basically help our customers manage their devices from the initial time they get them to the time that they have to dispose of them or give them back to us, because we help with kind of a refresh. So it's a toolkit that we've worked very closely with SOTI on. The first time I was introduced to it is when I worked at SOTI. And it's become basically a toolkit of like 15 or 16 different tools and APIs that our partners lean on to build the best experience for their customers and their end users and their customers.
I love that answer.
Well, and mobile DNA fits so well in with SOTI's solution because when customers are looking at rolling out a new mobility project, there's all the different parts that go into it. A lot of people think that it's kind of the start of the project to get the devices and try and unbox them. Over 5, 6, 7 years when these mobile devices are out in the field, everything in terms of mobile DNA comes into play, from the staging and kitting, the deploying, the updating, the security and locking the device down, and then it kind of goes full circle into that lifecycle management where you need to retire the device and then purchase the next generation of devices. So I think it's kind of a core part of the whole project is incorporating mobile DNA and making sure it all comes together from start, middle, and end.
I agree with that. And where we really see that is where you got your FOTA firmware over the air with Lifeguard patching, right? Or our OEM config and stage now configurations where we're able to take the latest and greatest that is offered at a software level from Zebra and not have to wait for maybe patches or changes. We can actually just implement that right there and then on many different operating system levels, where many, many, many years ago, we would have to do an operating system update or a change on the back end. Now we could do it almost instantaneously, right? And that's a part that is really important to us, is looking and saying that, you know, having the ability to stage quicker, being able to configure quicker, really does show me, at least from that perspective, best of breed.
Our customers today, our partners today that are supporting those customers, a lot of them have multiple sites, multiple locations. The logistics of having 10, 50, 100 different store locations means you can't be everywhere at once. No. You need a central way to be able to manage, update, all that. So Lifeguard patching is almost critical for all of our customers and partners that are supporting it with Zebra devices. Like, kind of, what are you seeing, Wes?
Yeah, like first of all, we're not forcing anyone to update their devices, right? Lifeguard is completely optional for the end customers. We even allow incremental updates. So you can keep your device on that same baseline of Android 13, for example,
sure,
and keep that device in a safe version of Android as long as you want to. And when I say as long as you want to, it's actually a really long time. We have a 10-year life cycle on our premium devices. So like this will have a 5 + 5 year. You will get 10 years of support, at least from a software level, for this device.
That's a long.
Can't ask for more than that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So even looking at some of the other things with inside of the Zebra ecosystem today. So I had a fun little video of a friend of mine that is actually demonstrating live Workstation Connect and how it integrates even with our solutions today. So Wes, why don't you walk us a little bit through this video that I got going on in the background?
Yeah, well, this handsome dude over here, he is demoing Workstation Connect in a scenario that we didn't talk about. So we are seeing Workstation Connect being adopted in vehicles for Fed, SLED, government. This reduces their costs significantly because they have a thin client, they have a cradle point to power a device and a computer. And this just basically streamlines it all down to one screen, one device, and we are working with our third-party hardware vendors to build out this solution.
That's awesome. I love the fact that it even shows you got your vehicle mount right there with your map on it, keyboard available. We see that a lot even in some of the emergency care, as well as where you have that map mounted right to the front in TNL perspectives, right? So in the TNL respectives. So it's interesting to see how these technologies are being adopted, right? Like how you guys are able to make these hot swaps and move around and get things done, right? So even looking at some of the transportation and logistics examples that we just saw there, we actually are working very closely with Zebra around something called Wireless Insights. And what's really interesting about Wireless Insights is it gives us advanced capabilities long-term to see exactly what's happening on a device as it travels. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you guys an example of that. So let me stand up and I'll go ahead and show you guys what's going on. So we got SOTI X site up here, and what Michaela and I did is we were driving up north, and what was really interesting is that we both took a TC27. We both had the exact same SIM card. The only difference that we had between us is one had one carrier and one had the other. So I have a data set that I had saved, and what I'm doing is I'm just going to start that data set, And you're going to see here that there is a huge distance between myself and Mikhail's device, where I'm all the way, way down here somewhere. He's here, and we're seeing that we're traveling all the way up to way north of this city that you see here that's called Peterborough. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to go to the top here to our control panel. And what I'm going to do is I want to view all the devices. And you guys can see here 2 separate Zebra devices. And when I want to go ahead and click the track option, I got a couple of things, right? So off, automatic, heat, and spot. Just for this example, we're going to use heat. And what I'm going to target in particular is going to be cellular signal. And when I click this save button here, what you're going to see here is there's going to be a change when I apply on the screen a long string of information as it passes, as we're traveling across the entire 407, that's a highway here, and traveling all the way up north where the last device is located. So at the bottom here, what we're showing is, and this is the data that we get back from Zebra, is we're showing us not only just the signal strength, right? Green being good, blue being okay, yellow being not so good, orangey kind of being like I'm losing signal completely, and then also red. And what's really important to understand is that we're now able to look at a lot further than that. And I'll show you guys an example. So having a look at a device here, we're collecting your latitude and longitude, your cellular signal, Wi-Fi, but that list keeps going on and on and on. And this is where things get quite interesting. So we can tell you what the bandwidth is as an example from Wireless Insights. We're able to tell you the RSSNR data, the RSSI data, RSRP data, and a lot of these different acronyms are really based off of the quality of a signal, the response time, the amount of packets. And when we did this troubleshooting step, if you guys have a look and we go back and forth, you guys are gonna see that the lines dramatically change. And let me zoom in a little bit more to kind of show you what that looks like. So in an example here where it shows green, you guys are seeing little red dots. That's because we were able to identify that the device had good cellular signal, but its GPS tracking was not working as anticipated. And what was really important to understand is we're able to snap to the road because what we're doing is best fit. But as soon as we start to get past Bancroft in here, we start to really lose signal. And at this point, every time Mikhail tries to give me a phone call, his device completely dies off in that area, right? Now my side is showing yellow, his was completely red. So what's really interesting to see is that integration between ourselves is we're able to look even deeper and further. So with that being said, I got a couple of images I want to show the team. And we want to show where I was having trouble as I was traveling up north, and Mikhail and I are actually actively working together on troubleshooting some of these devices, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring it up on the screen here in a brief moment. And you're going to see here Mikhail live and myself. And at this point in time, we are doing a video phone call between the two of us and also tracking the device as I'm driving. So with that being said, the benefit that we get from this is now I'm able to troubleshoot live. I'm able to talk to Mikhail and figure out what's going on. And if we jump to the other image that we have available, we're even able to show you exactly what's happening on the agent. So even in this next example, what I wanted to show you guys is even the troubleshooting that him and I are doing. So live on the screen here, you can see that him and I are going back and forth, and just simply, he's like, I just sent over, do you need support? And I said, yes, just by an automatic button that I could have clicked, right? And he's able to remote control into the device, have a look at the connection, see what I'm connected to, have a look at what's active on the device itself, pull logs, screenshots, however you see fit. So what I really wanted to highlight is that active integration where we're working very closely with our partners to be able to design solutions that really benefit our customers long-term to ensure that life cycle, right? You talked about it, 5+5. How do we sweat that asset for as long as possible within its contents and ensure that it is always up and working? And if it's not working, what's causing that problem? And that's through a lot of integrations where we work together. So that's something I wanted to show you guys today.
Well, honestly, so many customers today, Mario and Wesley, that so many of our customers in transportation logistics, they don't know when there's a problem. They don't know where to even start looking. Is it the device? Is it the signal? Is it the software? Do they need different types of connections? You always see these maps with, AT&T and Verizon. They say they have coverage all across the country, and then when that truck driver's driving down the highway, they think their app's crashing, and they don't know why, and they don't know really where to look. So having that integration between kind of wireless insights with SOTI allows you to actually see where it's happening, what's happening, and why, which is kind of the most important part of all of it.
I just want to add that this is fascinating because we're not only seeing cellular adoption in our mobile devices. This MC9450 has LTE. So all of that information now becomes important for even a warehouse worker. Well, if you leave this in a truck, now you can track this beyond that as well, right? So yeah, this is really great technology.
Awesome, and I appreciate you bringing that up, right? Because what we're seeing now is wireless is great. It's always going to be there. I don't think that's ever going to change. But there are some use cases where you need to also sit on the edge to allow you to be able to move over to cellular. So to our viewers, take that into consideration that a lot of TNL is looking to bridge that gap between Wi-Fi and cellular and being able to move back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. So, Wesley, kind of, to close out the day, what I wanted to do is get some brief thoughts from you. What do you find is important in data in mobility?
Yeah, we couldn't do this without you, right? We couldn't build out a dashboard that shows partner connectivity. We build the APIs together and you guys make that happen, right? That whole everything on one pane of glass that SOTI's really been true to building that vision is something we really lean on you guys for. And the value you bring to our customers and our partnership can be demonstrated just in that one video.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's really good insights. And to our audience, you guys can see here through great innovation also comes collaboration, and that's something that we really do try to heavily focus on here. With any closing thoughts from your side, Matt, you got anything that you want to close out with today?
Yeah, the more we can arm our shared customers with this type of information, with the right device, the right connection, the right software, the right security, that makes the best solution. That's what really customers are looking for, because trying to source this all individually without the information or without the data, it's almost like looking at a needle in a haystack. You can Google everything and try and find everything, but when you see it live, kind of the way you were showing it, it really hits home on, oh, this is actually a lot easier than maybe what I was thinking it was going to be. I just need the right tools, the right solutions, and the right partners, and then this is going to fit together like puzzle pieces and kind of like glued right together. So I love the integration, I love the collaboration, our customers are benefiting from it, so and our partners are using it every day to roll out more and more projects. So I think kind of everyone wins.
Agreed. So with that being said, gentlemen, Wesley, thank you so much for your time today. Greatly appreciate you coming in. It's always good to have you on board and going through a couple of things and really highlighting on the integrations that we work really closely together.
Thank you.
So just a quick question. If somebody wanted to contact you directly around some of the things that they may have seen here today, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, they can reach out to our PIC team, so pic.na@zebra.com. Feel free to reach out to me directly. You can add me on LinkedIn. It's Wes Pereyra. And if you are a partner in the ISV space, I'm super happy to work with you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Wes. And Matt, if they wanted to get hold of you for any use cases, how are they getting hold of you?
Catch me on LinkedIn.
Beautiful. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on today's episode. For our viewers, if you guys want us to cover any additional topics or ideas, leave it in the comment section below. And for any additional information, it'll be in the description. Do us a favor, click that like button and smash that subscribe button. Thank you for tuning into SOTI TV, and we will see you next time.